I have to say, bravo to Crystal Palace chairman Steve Parish. Just after lunch yesterday, reputable Spurs journalists announced that a deal had been verbally agreed between the two clubs for the transfer of Eberechi Eze to Spurs. Lift off, or so we thought. Then Steve Parish did what can only be described as a Daniel Levy, a move straight from the Levy playbook, where having agreed a deal verbally, he then went back at the last minute and asked for more money in add-ons and bonuses for the sale. Levy is said to be absolutely furious, but to me, this is karma. And when Levy has done this to so many other chairmen in the Premier League and beyond down the years, what on earth does he expect? Does he think they don't all talk to each other after games in the corporate boxes about how Levy thinks he's a better negotiator than them and tries to pull this trick time after time? Of course they do. So for me, I think fair play to Steve Parish. He knows Spurs are the only team left in for Eberechi Eze. So he's going to milk everything he can get for the deal. And Levy is just going to have to suck it up. Because if he doesn't, and he walks away from this deal because of his own pride, then the Spurs fan base, I'm telling you, will never forgive him. This time would be one time too many. I'll be discussing all of this and the other latest rumors on today's episode of Daily Tottenham Transfer News. Guys, thank you so much for watching and listening wherever you are. Do press that like button if you're on YouTube. Do press subscribe and the notification bell so you know when all of my daily content drops. And also come and join on BigUp, which is the platform where I do my live watch-alongs and interview other Tottenham content creators and fans. All the details are in the description box below. Just go to the link there and put your email in and sign up to join my community for the watch-alongs. But let's get started with this latest Eberechi Eze. And part of me hopes that by the time you're watching this video, it becomes a little bit void because the Eze deal will have gone through. But I'm recording this at 8:30 on Wednesday morning. And as it stands, like I mentioned, the hold-up, according to all reports, very late last night on Eze is last-minute complications to do with bonuses and add-ons. It's expected to be resolved, but it is complicating issues. And like I said, Daniel Levy is said to be absolutely furious with Crystal Palace chairman Steve Parish. Now, I had a little bit of a rant at the top there. I want to talk a little bit more about it. For me, I've never really understood how Daniel Levy felt that he can do this time after time in negotiating purchase of players and sales of players. And yet, seemingly every time a chairman talks about Daniel Levy, they talk about what a lovely guy he is. They say he's an absolutely the toughest of negotiators, works on the levels of brinksmanship when it comes to negotiation. But in terms of away from that, he's a lovely guy. But I just have never been able to understand why these kind of tactics don't just really piss off these people, because they're his colleagues in essence. They're the people he has to sit with at the Premier League board meetings. And then when he's trying to pull their pants down time after time for negotiating for players, I don't understand how they can really just deal with him on a day-to-day basis. But seemingly, and this is looking at it from afar, Steve Parish has said, nah, enough is enough. I'm not going to have this done to me the way that he's done it to so many other people. So maybe he's just kind of jumped in there first, kind of in the knowledge that once the deal was agreed verbally, that probably Daniel Levy was expecting to go in late last night and try and change the terms of the deal. So Parish was like, no, I'm going to jump in first. I'm going to insist on some more money and some more bonuses. And Levy being said to be furious, that shouldn't be, as far as I'm concerned, because if you're furious with him for doing it, then that shows that you think it's wrong. But you've done it so many times for so many years. Let's not forget the famous quote from Alex Ferguson dealing with Daniel Levy over the sale of over the purchase of Dimitar Berbatov was more painful than my hip replacement surgery. So how can Daniel Levy be furious when he's done it so many times himself? And I know as a Spurs fan, I probably shouldn't be kind of applauding Steve Parish for this because it puts the Eze deal in danger. But for me now, it's even more down to Daniel Levy, because like I said, if he walks away from this because of his own pride, then I just can't see how Spurs fans will ever forgive him. I mean, there are so many Spurs fans who will never forgive him for everything already that's gone as it is. But with an opportunity to sign Eze, a player in his peak, a player who all the fans want, a player who the fans know is the perfect Tottenham Hotspur player, so daring on the ball, just wants to make things happen all the time. If Daniel Levy allows his own kind of, yeah, like I said, ego basically to get in the way of this deal at such a late stage, and I just cannot see him coming back from it. Um, and, he has an opportunity in the rest of this window. What are we talking about? 10, 11, 12 days to really kind of change the minds of Spurs fans. Get the Eze deal over the line. Try and push properly hard for Savini. I'll be talking more about the latest on that in this episode too. And then also maybe one or two others. There are other links. And to really show to the Spurs fan base that actually he realized the mistakes he made last year. And that's what put us in the dangerous position of 17th place in the league. And he realizes that we need proper oven-ready players who have Premier League experience, and he's willing to pay a little bit more than he wants to make it happen. But if he trips over at this first hurdle of Eze, especially after doing so well with Kudus, who I think we all agree now, what an incredible signing Kudus is for £55 million. And I think we've got exactly the right manager in Thomas Frank to put his arm around Kudus and make him feel special every single day to keep him at that top level. Well, Levy has an opportunity to build a team at Spurs full of players like Mohamed Kudus. Eze is exactly like Kudus, can hold the ball up, can bring other people into play, can score a goal, can set up a goal, glides gracefully, does things that get the fans on their feet. He has this opportunity to build a forward line full of players like that. So don't let pride and ego get in the way, Daniel. Don't let a few £1 million here and there get in the way. That's what you have to do to challenge. And all the other clubs around you, Daniel Levy, right now are doing more than that. Chelsea just spending absolutely hundreds of millions on endless forwards, endless players to try and get to where they want to be. They just unveiled, I thought it was a bit embarrassing, but they unveiled before their game against Crystal Palace that weekend, a sign that they've put on the side of their hotel by the ground that says World Champions. Now, I don't understand how they're able to do that, considering they, of course, sold that hotel, and Chelsea don't own that hotel anymore officially. But it says World Champions, and they've able to do that, even though it looks a bit kind of tin pot as far as I'm concerned, because they've spunk £2 billion on players, found accountancy loopholes to get around PSR, and therefore are one of the favourites for the Premier League this season. Now, contrast that with Daniel Levy, who's, pissing around over a couple of million here and upset because Steve Parish is trying to do to him what he's done to so many chairmen before. No, mate, this is your time now, Daniel. You have to utilize that investment that is coming from the Tavistock Group via ENIC into the club and show that you can build a team that can challenge. We've got a good manager, build a team that can actually challenge and surprise people this season. And this getting Eze over the line, and like I said, hopefully by the time you're watching this, it's void because we'll have the here we go from Fabrizio Romano. We know it's going to happen, but getting this Eze deal over the line today, so that he's not playing tomorrow night for Crystal Palace in the Europa Conference League, so that Steve Parish can't allow Oliver Glasner to put him in the squad. Get it done today, Daniel. Okay, Fabrizio Romano said this on the latest. He said, at the moment, there is no total agreement between Crystal Palace and Tottenham, but a deal is very close. They had contact again today. That's yesterday. My feeling is it will happen. In my personal opinion, it will happen. Ebereche Eze will go to Tottenham. But as of tonight, this is late last night, the deal isn't complete because Palace wants a replacement and they're working on it. And secondly, there are some details to be clarified between the two clubs. It's now about small things. I expect the here we go to arrive soon. No messages from Arsenal, who were interested in Eze, and they had conversations at the end of June. And Romano goes on to say also still no update on Savino, but I'll be talking more about that in a minute. It was Paul O'Keefe yesterday lunchtime who broke that Spurs had reached that agreement in principle with Crystal Palace. But Spurs just suffering this summer, aren't they? And like I said, I think this is Daniel Levy's comeuppance, not just from Steve Parish, as I've mentioned already in this video, but earlier in the summer with Marinakis, with Morgan Gibbs-White. This is Levy's comeuppance. Marinakis clearly didn't like the way Levy dealt with him when he bought Brennan Johnson off him. So he's like, well, I'm not letting him do it this time. And I'm literally going to ignore the release clause that Daniel Levy has triggered. And it's happening again. And Levy is it's coming home to roost a little bit for Daniel Levy. And maybe he's going to have to look at himself and say, I'm going to change my negotiating style, because we already have enough clubs in this Premier League who won't deal with us. Arsenal and Chelsea, and previous to the Kudus deal, and frankly, they needed the money for Kudus, but they didn't want to deal with us. None of those clubs deal with us. Really, really frustrating. As the day went on before that Paul O'Keefe announcement yesterday, it really looked like it was the momentum was rolling. All of the reputable journalists saying talks underway again, 55 million plus 5, and it looked like it was going to be, in the end, the deal agreed for 55 million plus 8 in add-ons. but maybe Parish has up that to 10. He wants 10 million in add-ons. The Independent said it's edging closer, not done yet. Palace want more of the fee up front to ensure they can sign a replacement. Well, Daniel, give them more of the fee up front then. Just do it for once in your life. So frustrating. Let's move on to the Cinho situation. A lot of reports came out over the course of yesterday that Man City have totally closed the door on the Cinho deal, but Fabrizio Romano had more of an insight. He said, as of today, there is someone very important at Manchester City blocking the move of Cinho to Tottenham. Tottenham want to make Cinho the face of their project, but City are scared of a repeat of the Cole Palmer situation, that being where Chelsea bought Cole Palmer relatively cheaply. What was it, like 45 million pounds? And he's become basically one of the best players in the league. And Man City believe in Cinho so much, or at least their sporting director does, that they are afraid to sell Cinho to Spurs. Now, Pep Guardiola feels differently because he doesn't want players there who would rather be playing elsewhere. And Cinho feels in a World Cup year, and with all of the purchases that Manchester City have made over the last, 8-10 months, that he is not going to be a regular in their team. So although a lot of reports coming out of Man City, like I said, that the deal is dead because the sporting director doesn't want him sold, Fabrizio Romano and other people in the know feel like this isn't quite done yet, and maybe it would take Spurs upping their bid even more. Maybe it would take Cinho kind of throwing his toys out the pram a little bit more. But they feel like there is still the chance as the window kind of winds down. And I think one of the important things in this chase will be whether Cinho gets game time between now and the end of the window. I know Pep Guardiola said he was injured before the game at the weekend, but that clearly wasn't true. I think that was more about the fact that Cinho had said to Pep that he'd quite like to go and play for Spurs, so Pep isn't going to play someone who said that to him. If he gets no game time at all between now and the end of the window, then you'd think him and his agents will push harder, and that might force Manchester City into a position where they want to sell him. And I think they want to get Rodrigo in from Real Madrid as a potential replacement. Spurs, though, are looking at other options, and according to the Independent this morning, they're targeting Akliouche from Monaco, who is an incredibly gifted midfielder / number 10. And maybe they're thinking if they can't get Cinho to come and play on the left, then they would push Eze out to that left-hand side and bring in Akliouche as the kind of attacking midfield number 10 option. He looks an incredibly exciting player, really gifted on the ball, takes it in very tight spaces, takes it on the half turn, can drive forward, left-footed, which offers us a bit of balance as well, which means he could play out on the left if needed. And also just a very, like I said, shows desire on the ball as well as just a really silky touch. Manchester City apparently demanding £70 million for Cinho. However, we would be able to get Akliouche from Monaco for far less, perhaps as little as kind of £45 million to £50 million. Of course, though, that would be going against our strategy this summer of trying to get players who have Premier League experience. And if you're bringing in a player from the French League, La Liga, French League is Ligue 1, sorry. If you're bringing in a player from there, they're going to need some time to acclimatize and get up to the pace of the Premier League, because it is undoubtedly a lot quicker. Not only the Independent reporting that, Miguel Delaney was also reporting that. Also, reports yesterday from Corriere dello Sport in Italy that Spurs have inquired about signing Roma midfielder Lorenzo Pellegrini. He's been on our list for a while. So let's see what happens in terms of this in the last kind of 10 days of the window. Hopefully we can get Eze in before the weekend to play against Manchester City to offer us a little bit more creativity. Although maybe he would start on the break, because I think Thomas Frank will have been impressed with what he saw from the slightly defensive-looking lineup that we had against PSG, but also we were able to break from very narrow defensive positions, and we caused PSG a fair amount of trouble. So maybe he'll go to the Etihad and play a similar way, even if we do have Eze through the door. Before I go into some of the rumoured sales coming up in the rest of this window for Tottenham, once again, please do press like on this video if you're on YouTube. The more likes we get, the more Spurs fans see this in their suggested videos, guys. Also, do press that subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber to my channel for daily Tottenham Hotspur transfer news throughout the rest of this window, and of course all the news and views from White Hart Lane every single morning. And once again, guys, I'm doing all live watch-alongs for Spurs games this season on BigUp, a different platform, but it's really brilliant. There's a tactics board, and you can video call me throughout the game and ask me your questions. So just go to BigUp, which is in the description box below. Click on the link I've given you. Join my community there. It's called the Spurred On Podcast. Really looking forward to doing those watch-alongs with you. Okay, some interesting news came out yesterday that Richarlison did consider leaving Tottenham this summer. Spurs actually opened the door for him to explore his options. There were interested clubs from Italy, Saudi Arabia, and England who made inquiries, but a deal never advanced. And after speaking to, according to this report, trusted allies inside and outside of football, Richarlison decided that it was best that he stayed at Tottenham. Obviously, he had an incredible couple of games against PSG and against Burnley. So right now, it looks like the right decision. But for me, once again, I don't want to get too ahead of myself with Rishi, because the key, as ever with him, is can he stay fit? If Thomas Frank's new medical staff can keep him fit, and if the kind of slightly less sprinting involved in playing for Thomas Frank than playing for Ange Postecoglou means that his muscles are able to rest more, get less fatigue in them, then I think Richarlison could be an incredible, almost like a new signing for Spurs this season as a rotational option with Dom Solanke. And they can play maybe not alternate games, but if one goes on a streaky run, say Richarlison scores 6 in 5 in these next few games, then you play him and you say to Solanke, you just get as fit as you can, come on for half an hour at the end of games, and then when Richarlison needs a break, you bring in Solanke. And that's what having two rotational options at centre forward is all about. And I think if we would sell Richarlison, we'd regret it, because I'm not sure we would get as good a player for the same money that we'd sell him for. Like, maybe we could get a younger player who would need time to bed in. That's a possibility. But we have a player in Richarlison who, when he's confident and when he's fit, we know is an outstanding finisher. I'm not sure the kind of money we'd get for him, which realistically wouldn't be much more than at max £40 million. You'd be able to get much more. So that's how I feel about it. But let me know how you feel about it in the comments. Basuma likely to leave Spurs in the last days of the summer transfer window. Al Ali want him. The reports are unsure whether he would want to go there, but let's see what happens. I think the time is over for Basuma. Only 1 year left on his contract, and Thomas Frank didn't pick him in his squad at the weekend, although he did say he was injured. But after the debacle of him turning up late all the time, I'm not sure if that's necessarily true. And then before I leave, guys, just one thing. Matthis Tel released a statement yesterday about, obviously, all of the racist abuse he copped after the Paris Saint-Germain game. He said this: "After the last few days have passed, I wanted to thank you for all your messages of support. I was also disappointed about Wednesday night, but racism has no place in our society. Every day is a learning curve and every day is a lesson. I know where I come from, where I started, and none of this will bring me down. With work and humility, respect reigns. Thank you all." Got to get behind Matthis Tel. He's a very talented, very raw young player, but I think he will end up being an incredible player for Tottenham Hotspur if we just stick with him. And he's the kind of player we now have that shows squad depth. If we bring in the likes of a Cinho or an Akliush, and of course Eze, we have squad depth. So we allow these players to be at their peak fitness all the time. So we've got to get behind Matthis Tel. And if we give him chances, we get behind him and we give him confidence, he will play incredibly well for Spurs this season and beyond. That's how I feel anyway. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching and listening wherever you are. Do give this video a like on YouTube. Do press subscribe for daily Tottenham Hotspur transfer news, and join BigUp and come and watch the watch along for me for the Man City game this Saturday, 12:30. All you have to do is join my community on BigUp, and then we'll watch it together. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Let's hope that the Eze deal comes through soon. Come on, you Spurs.